Yesterday, there was a terrorist shooting. Let's be very clear. An LGBT supporter and volunteer goes in and shoots someone because of their viewpoints. We'll get to this here in a second. Terrorist. I said that this would be a summer of blood. I hope that I'm wrong. I feel like I am going to be wrong. But yesterday we had a shooting. It wasn't a workplace incident. It was a terrorist. The media is barely even reporting this because the guy just got shot in the arm. He wasn't killed. Oh, okay. All right, so as long as he was only shot in the arm, we're okay with it. This is falling on the responsibility falls on the shooter, but also on people like the Poverty Law Center. People are excusing all of this. We're not even looking into the truth of any of it. The media, our government, no one is paying attention to these things. And it will only compound. We told you for the last few months about the Black Panthers. Now, you can dismiss the Black Panthers all you want. I hope we can all laugh at them. But you know what? I don't hear the same attitude on the KKK. I don't think the KKK are funny. I don't think they're just a silly group of people. I think the KKK are a dangerous group of haters. I think the KKK should be watched. I want to know members of the KKK. I want to know who they are. If they live around me, I want to know who they are. I don't want them hiding in the darkness. I want to know who they are because I think they're dangerous. I've never seen the press take anything from a KKK meeting and dismiss it. I've never seen the press take anything from a white supremacist group and dismiss it.
No matter how small that group.
Nope. Mm-mm. I want to give you something from the Business Insider. The Business Insider is, I believe, becoming more and more every day a leftist blog. And it's too bad because I think the Business Insider has been good. But when Jeffrey Ingersoll can write this kind of tripe on the Business Insider and it passes off as news, it's shocking. The Black Panthers, a militant black power group from the 1960s, are regrouping, and they claim they want to murder as many Caucasian Americans as possible, according to a video on Breitbart.
What?
No, it's not according to a video on Breitbart. It's according to their own video.
Yeah, a video on Breitbart with their voices on it and them saying it.
Yeah.
It's not someone accusing them.
Yeah,
what an astounding sentence that is.
Listen to, I don't want you to take anything according to Breitbart. I want you to take it according to the Black Panthers. Listen to the voice of the Black Panthers. Here it is.
For 2 weeks to go into Ewing, New Jersey, and I'm in Trenton, New Jersey right now, my hometown, Black. But we're 2 weeks in Sissy got fired. To go into Ewing and Lawrenceville and Hamilton, New Jersey, and even across the bridge to Marsville and drag some of these rusty, dusty crackers out of their home, skin their asses alive, hang their asses up by some rope and some trees, drag them up and down the street by trucks, sick the pit bulls on them, pour acid on their dump them in the river, bring them back up, bust them in the head with rocks. We're just too scared for any of these type of maneuvers, Brother Sean. So what had to happen is the new Black Panther Party has decided that we have to now create a military that's really going to represent the entire organization as a whole. But hell, we're going to have to get out in these streets. And as I said on National Geographic, I said it, if you want to be free, you're going to have to get out here and kill some of these peckerwoods. You're going to have to kill some of these babies just born 3 seconds ago. You're going to have to go into the damn nursery and just throw a bomb in the nursery and kill everything white in sight that ain't white. It's self-defense.
Got it? So we're just too weak as black people. We're just too weak, and using his words, too pansy ass to go into the white suburbs and drag these old white crackers out of their houses and kill them, skin them alive, bust their head open with rocks, drag them behind trucks. And so we've decided that we're going to make our own militant army that will represent all of those people, and they'll do it because you've got to kill the white cracker babies right after they're born. Somebody has to go in and throw a bomb into white nurseries and kill the cracker babies. Okay, that's not according to Breitbart. That's according to the Black Panthers. Let me give you the first paragraph, but it gets worse. The Black Panthers, a militant black power group from the 1960s, are regrouping and claim they want to murder as many Caucasian Americans as possible, according to a video on Breitbart. A handful of popular pundits like Michelle Malkin, Breitbart.com gang, and Glenn Beck's crew at The Blaze are attempting to stoke the flames of fear. You ready for the rest? Over the enthusiastic YouTube musings of a few individuals who's forgotten it's no longer the 1960s.
Those are just musings.
No. They're
Enthusiastic musings. Sure. Mm-hmm.
The pundits also took a turn towards race.
We took a turn.
We took
that
the
was
turn
us.
towards race.
Oh, because they were saying they wanted to kill every baby in a race, and then we took that and made it racial. Wow.
The pundits took a turn towards race as they quickly and predictably accused Obama of looking the other way. Not just Obama. Let me add the Business Insider and every single media outlet in the country that didn't cover this. Yeah, you're looking the other way, and I don't care what color you are. If this was the KKK and the KKK was being dismissed by the DOJ, yeah, I'd still be covering it. These are the same people, the Business Insider writes, who fiercely advocate for bombing Muslim countries willy-nilly.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, jeez.
I've been saying, let's go get Indonesia.
How long now?
Oh, forever.
I mean, if I've heard that once,
They say 10% of Muslims are terrorists, and then they get mad when a guy with a few screws loose is a bit more hawkish than them.
They say 10% of Muslims are terrorists. No, actually, polling shows that. We actually have all the backup and documented on the website. Polling from actually left-leaning organizations and opinion makers show that between, I think it's 4 and 57% of Muslim countries, depending on which one you're talking about, supports the actions of Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, supports the actions. It is up to 57%.
In the Palestinian territories, I believe is the high.
I believe it would probably be higher today. That poll's about 2 years old.
Yeah, it's a few years
I'll bet you
old.
now that Islamic extremism is taking and sweeping the Middle East, thanks to our president. I believe it would be a little higher.
And by the way, the definition of terrorist and terrorism is terrorist is someone who advocates or engages in terrorism. So advocating terrorism, supporting it, supporting the actions of Osama bin Laden, arguing for them makes you a terrorist. These actions by the Black Panther Party should have them designated as a terrorist group. I don't know if they are, but they should be.
No, I think they're designated, believe it or not, as a right-wing hate group.
How the heck could they be a right?
Yeah, it's the Southern Poverty Law Center.
They say that they're a right-wing group.
Right-wing hate group.
I mean, you know the Black Panthers are definitely voting Romney. There's no doubt about that. He's locked that vote up.
The host of right-wing blogs exploded recently following the epic rants by the new Black Panther Party's elements calling for a militarization of their little club. You know what? Let's everybody start calling the KKK a little club.
With enthusiastic musings.
Granted, their club's language is colorful. Quoting, sick pit bulls on them, throw acid on their asses, stick them in the bottom of the river, pull them back up, and bust them in the head with a rock. That is colorful language. So what has to happen is, still quoting, the new Black Panther Party has decided that we have to have create a new military that's really going to represent the entire organization as a whole. So we're going to have to get out in the streets, as I said on National Geographic. Hell, I said it. Black people are being shot down everywhere. Every 36 to 48 hours, even in America, Russia, and Kyrgyzstan, or wherever these white folks are living amongst the black people.
Kyrgyzstan.
Now, the Business Insider news article continues to muse enthusiastically. I might be scared if I wasn't so busy laughing. Anyway, Shabazz should be thankful for the whitest of white people, Rupert Murdoch, who owns the controlling stock in National Geographic. I wonder why Murdoch's company would give the press to the man who is calling for domestic terrorism. That's a story you won't see on Glenn Beck wasting his chalk. You know what? Yes, it is.
What?
Yes, it is.
What is that?
Why? I have no idea. Why would they give airtime to somebody who is calling for terrorism? Here's why. I did it on ABC in 1999 about Osama bin Laden, and warned, if you don't pay attention to this guy, there will be blood and bodies and buildings in the streets of this city in New York City. I said that in 1999. You do that so you warn people so they pay attention. But nobody paid attention then. Nobody's paying attention now. And the press is doing worse than not paying attention. Business Insider, you're shameful.
Well, what is the tie between giving media coverage and terrorist attacks? I mean, I don't remember all the media coverage of Timothy McVeigh before he started blowing up buildings.
Excuse me.
It has nothing to do with it.
Excuse me.
You have to go out.
Is this not the same group of people who just spent the last 4 years calling the Tea Party terrorists and wondering about their anti-Social Security or their anti-big budget or big government rants and how that's going to lead to terrorism? Here you have a group of people saying, let's go kill babies. Here you have a group of people that says, let's go drag people out in the streets and beat them to death. And we don't have a problem with that. There's no problem with that. These people are dead serious.
I mean, this is illegal activity. You can't threaten the lives of people in specific towns and get away with it, as far as I know. Think about this. They talk about, it's just a little group. Well, they're a little group. Well, let's just say it was one person.
Let's just say what do you say, 18? Well, let's say it's just 18 people.
18 people is a legitimate example, obviously, going back to 2011.
How many people were involved in Oklahoma City? And they...
Yeah, two.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even go...
Let's a small group.
Let's just do one. How many at Fort Hood?
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he had some other ties as well, but still, yeah, only one person actually shooting the gun. Let's go even to... obviously, you could go to Denver or Aurora as well with that story, but just go to this. What if it was just one guy on YouTube saying the exact same things instead of specifically talking about all white children in a town, just talking about his ex-wife? Would the media report on that? Would the police go to his house and make sure he didn't go kill his ex-wife? Mm-hmm. Of course they would.
And if he did that and then his wife showed up dead, how long would the exposés be on everyone who was involved?
Yeah.
YouTube and everybody else who played that. Why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you alert authorities? Why didn't you send somebody to their house? You know that's exactly what would happen.
Oh, the media would be so above everyone on that. They would be. How could the police miss this?
How could YouTube possibly post this and not have? How many people did this view at? How many people watched this and laughed at it and dismissed it, and now this poor woman is dead? One guy threatening one woman, and it ends in death. Once. And that's exactly what would happen. Well, I'm sorry for some more enthusiastic musings this morning. I wonder if my words will be deemed dangerous today. And the Black Panthers' words will be enthusiastic musings again. We live in a crazy world. And the people who are currently in their ivory towers will be out in the parking lot one day kicking rocks, asking themselves what the hell happened. They're putting themselves out of business. They're putting themselves into disrepute. They are destroying themselves. Know that you don't ever have to say anything about these people. You don't ever have to... You just have to know what's going on. That's it. You have to know what voices you can trust. And I don't ask you for your trust ever. Ever. Do your own homework. Figure it out for yourself. Because someday, God forbid, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. You're going to have to stand on your own 2 feet. God forbid you have to be self-reliant. Don't trust me. Don't trust any voice you hear. I don't know how you trust anybody. I don't know how you would trust me or anybody else. With what you see in the media and what you see going on all around you, I don't know how you could possibly trust anybody. Because I know I don't. And you know what? I'm stronger because of it. You will be too. Do your own homework. Just speak the truth. And don't dismiss obvious warning signs. Jeez. But Grandma with a lawn chair in the Tea Party, she's dangerous.
Yeah, that is incredible.
That's incredible, just that one thing. But I did a whole monologue last night on how exotic this president really is. And I was bitten by a monkey to bring it to you. So you can watch it. You can watch it at Glenn Beck TV or gbtv.com or glennbeck.com. Do it now. I want to go through some of the most outrageous things this president has done. You know, there's a couple of lists going by, and there's a book now out that says, you know, the top 6 things the president doesn't want you to know, or the top 10 things. Why stop at 6 or 10 or 60? We've just started to compile the things that you need to hear, not from us. We're just going to go through the audio clips of the most outrageous things the President of the United States has said or believes in. Start with cut 244, please. It started here.
I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody.
I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for you.
It's good for everybody.
In no particular order. Cut 2.
If there's an Arab American family being rounded up without benefit of an attorney or due process, that threatens my civil liberties.
Okay, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And then he signs a bill in to allow citizens to be killed without trial, without an attorney, and to be rounded up and held until the end of hostilities without an attorney. How about this one?
I've got 2 daughters, 9 years old and 6 years old. I'm going to teach them, first of all, about values and morals. But if they make a mistake, I don't want them punished with a baby.
Punished?
I don't want them punished with
a baby.
An STD at the age of 16.
Oh, that would be terrible.
So a baby and an STD is the same.
No, I don't want them knowing about consequences. I'm going to take away those consequences for them. I don't want them knowing about personal responsibility.
Spike Lee says that the president was imaged as the Messiah, and that's the problem. They imaged him as the Messiah. Did they? Or did he?
Generations from now, we will be able to look back and tell our children that this was the moment when we began to provide care for the sick and good jobs to the jobless. This was the moment when the rise of the oceans began to slow and our planet began to heal.
Our planet began to heal. How about this super classic?
She is a typical white person who, you know, if she sees somebody on the street that she doesn't know, you know, there's a reaction that's been bred into
right into it.
Our experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, we're making a list of all the most outrageous things Jimmy the Greek, the president, has said in the past. Cut 67.
I chose my friends carefully. The more politically active black students, the foreign students, the Chicanos, the Marxist professors and structural feminists and punk rock performance poets.
Okay.
We smoked cigarettes and wore leather jackets.
Yeah.
At night in the dorms, we discussed neocolonialism, Frantz Fanon, Eurocentrism, and patriarchy. When we ground out our cigarettes in the hallway carpet, or set our stereos so loud that the walls began to shake, we were resisting bourgeois society's stifling constraints.
I love it when our presidents resist bourgeois society's stifling constraints.
It is so true. And the man has never, ever, we don't have a cut of him saying, hey, this is when I wised up and I realized the bourgeois society doesn't have stifling constraints. We don't have that clip. But we have more here. How about the one on your SUV?
We can't drive our SUVs and
that's a good one.
You know, eat as much as we want and keep our homes on 72 degrees at all times and whether we're living in a desert or we're living in the tundra, and then just expect that every other country is going to say, okay.
It's amazing. And doesn't that explain a lot about what Michelle Obama is? We can't just eat what we want. And Michelle Obama is trying to make sure we don't.
All of this fits. Now that you understand
it's amazing.
Now you understand his anti-colonialism. It all makes sense, and it all really stems from putting his cigarettes out in the hallway carpet. It all makes sense from that particular point of view. He hasn't changed from there. Now let's go to Fat Cats.
I did not run for office to be helping out a bunch of fat cat bankers on Wall Street.
That's so great. I mean, that just explains so much of how he feels about the wealthy. It's not just bankers he feels that way about. You can tell it. You can sense it. We also have, this is out of order, but this goes with that.
I mean, I do think at a certain point you've made enough money.
Mm-hmm. I don't. Do you? See, he thinks that you're fine. It's the government that's really struggling. You're fine, 158.
The private sector is doing fine.
Is it
private sector is doing fine, but he doesn't want to assign blame with anyone.
It's always my responsibility. I'm less interested in allocating blame than just making sure that we're taking every step we need to move the economy forward.
That is an unbelievable statement coming out of his mouth.
Why?
I'm less interested in allocating blame? Really? Mr. Inherited, Mr. Worst economy since Xerxes, Mr. Bush did everything, and you're just trying to clean up his mess? It's amazing.
He is. He's less interested in
okay.
any of that. Now, let me give you two flip-flops here from on Jerusalem.
Agreement with the Palestinian people must preserve Israel's identity as a Jewish state with secure, recognized, defensible borders. And Jerusalem will remain the capital of Israel, and it must remain undivided.
The truth is that this was an example where we had some poor phrasing in the speech, and we immediately tried to correct the interpretation that was given. The point we were simply making is that we don't want barbed wire running through Jerusalem.
That's all we were simply...
No, you said that Jerusalem should be the undivided capital of Israel. That's what you said. How is that poorly phrased? I didn't misunderstand that. I couldn't have misinterpreted that. That's what you said, Mr. President. Cut 196.
We've got to get the job done there. And that requires us to have enough troops that we're not just air raiding villages and killing civilians, which is causing enormous problems there.
Okay, so that's what we're doing. We're just air raiding villages and killing children. That's what we're doing. This was one of the first weeks the president took over. This is from his first press conference.
You became a big issue because you are a friend.
Whoops, not that one.
Cut 222.
Yep, it's... Hang on. This one.
I don't know all the facts, but that the Cambridge police acted stupidly.
That one still gets me. Blaming the cops.
Cut 553. Is this Putin?
This is the Medvedev thing about Putin.
Yeah. My last election, after my election, I have more flexibility.
I understand. I transmit this information to Vladimir and my standard.
I've never heard anything like this from an American president. This is my last election, so you'll have to give me some time because then I'll have more flexibility. I will transmit to Vladimir. This is something somebody else would have gone to jail for in years gone by. I mean, what? Excuse me? What? What does that even mean? And it's just a blip. Just a blip. We're just putting these through just so you have some recollection of the overwhelming evidence this guy is not like you. Cut 280.
There are things that you can do individually, though, to save energy. Making sure your tires are properly inflated. Simple thing. But we could save all the oil that they're talking about getting off drilling. If everybody was just inflating their tires,
I love that one.
And getting regular tune-ups,
Tune-ups.
you could actually save just as much.
So is just as much as drilling. Just as much as drilling, if we all just inflated our tires and got a tune-up, we could save as much as all new drilling. Wow, that's quite a concept there.
Also completely untrue.
Yeah, I wonder why we haven't really stood on that one, because that's a really good idea if it worked. Cut 761.
That at least we can let doctors know and your mom know that, you know what, maybe this isn't going to help. Maybe you're better off not having the surgery, but taking the painkiller.
Remember that? It was so outrageous, though,
to say
that care might be rationed to anyone.
That's what he's saying here.
That's exactly what he's saying.
He's saying here, maybe
rather than do some kind of surgery on her, give her a pill and just keep her comfortable and let her die. Basically, that's what is being said.
But at least he's worried about our defense.
I will cut tens of billions of dollars in wasteful spending. I will cut investments in unproven missile defense systems.
Oh, good.
I will not weaponize space.
All right.
I will slow our development of future combat systems.
How does that make sense to anybody? You'll slow our development of future combat systems?
How could you say that out loud?
Why would you do that?
I have no idea.
And I will institute an independent Defense Priorities Board to ensure that the quadrennial defense review is not used to justify unnecessary spending.
I've always hated the quadrennial defense review, haven't you? So I'm glad he's doing that.
Hey, we're not even halfway through this list, so we'll come back to it here in a second. But
so many I forgot about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's quite staggering. We'll give you more on this in just a second. One of the most blessed men on the planet, I think. I work with amazing people. I work with some of the most talented people, and you know, people who are varied in backgrounds and abilities, and we all have become friends. About a year ago, when we launched GBTV, we launched and we started the Brian Sack Show that has made tremendous progress in the last year. It is gathered some really brilliant people, and people that I'm sad to say will probably never work again in the comedy industry because they now work for me, but they're trying to keep their distance from me as much as they can. Matt Fisher is one of the funniest guys I've ever seen on TV, and really, truly a remarkable talent, remarkable writer, and a remarkable performer. Really, truly one of the funniest men in media today. And also one of the nicest guys. Humble, kind, polite, decent. He's probably a liberal. I don't know. Man, we avoid that part of a lot of times I avoid that part of conversation because it's not important. What is important is he's a decent guy. And sometimes when you see people in the media, you might think, oh, I wish I had their life. Or you see somebody who's funny and you never think what's going on in their life. I found out this week that Matt Fisher has had unbelievable tragedy going on in his life behind the scenes, and none of us knew about it. I mean, I didn't, but we may have known about the loss of his sister in a tragic car accident. But we didn't know what was going on because of it. A fight with the Progressive car insurance company, Progressive. And when you hear what this insurance company has done to Matt's family, it will make you... I'm not a guy who bashes any company. I'm sure Progressive has its good points, and they're not entirely evil, I'm sure. But this is a case that this insurance company has at least a few evil people working for him. And Matt brought this to everybody's attention when he wrote a blog. I think it was on Tuesday. And a couple of websites, including The Blaze, picked it up right away. And the story has now gone national and viral.
International.
Yeah. And Progressive Auto Insurance is trying to settle up now real quick, I'm sure. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm sure they're like, okay, let's make this go away. And my advice to Matt Fisher is, no, don't. Because if it can just happen to you, it can happen to anybody. I want you to hear the story. This is the first time he's done an interview that I know of on this subject, and I want you to know I'm not necessarily going to push him on answers because I don't want to put him in an awkward situation because this situation has not been settled yet. So, Matt, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and more specifically, thank you so much for shedding so much light on this situation. It's incredibly gratifying.
First of all, I wish you would have come to me with it beforehand. I'm sorry. I happened to read your blog, and I wish I would have known because I wish I could have been there as a friend for you while you were going through it. I can't imagine. How long has this been going on? Active, tearing your family up?
Well, my sister died June 19th, 2010, so it's been just over 2 years. And then that was the beginning of a discussion with Progressive Insurance about settling her policy, and that's been going on through today.
Okay, so tell me, your sister was killed by another guy. You even in your blog said, "Look, I don't want to cast blame here, but the court system casts blame on him."
Right, and inducing the court system to pass blame on him was one of the hoops that my family had to jump through in order to present themselves to Progressive.
Okay, so she's killed by a driver, and she has Progressive insurance. He was underinsured, right?
Right.
Okay.
He was. Well, I guess the important end of it is that my sister carried a policy about being struck by an underinsured driver. So they were they were obligated to make up the difference between the value of an underinsured driver's insurance and this policy that my sister held.
And she paid it, and she was up on her payments, and that's specifically what she was paying for, was in case somebody hit her and they were underinsured, Progressive would come in and pay for it. And she paid the extra dollars for that policy.
Yes, that is my understanding.
So that's exactly what happens to her. And then what happens when they go to court?
Well, I mean, there was a good long period before it actually came to court. My parents tried to collect that difference from Progressive, and because it was an open question as to whose fault it was. If my sister had been at fault in the accident, Progressive would have not been held, to pay.
Okay.
Because that had not been established legally, Progressive refused, I suppose, to pay the balance.
We've lost him. Hang on, because
we lost you.
We lost you for a second because Progressive, because your sister wasn't.
Right. Because fault hadn't been legally established, Progressive was not obligated to pay.
All right. So when that happened, you must have thought at first, okay, this is frustrating, but I understand maybe what Progressive is doing. We have to let it play out.
Sure. And I would even rewind one step before. That's definitely a fair characterization. But also, I keep reminding people that this is in the wake of my sister's death. So this is the worst imaginable thing is happening, and then you're presented with a headache.
Okay. Now they go to trial, and Progressive, of course, stands by your side, stands by your family's side, your sister's side, because that's who she paid. She paid them to represent her, and that, of course, is what happens then, right?
Sadly, no, and strangely, no. In the trial, I sat and watched the trial. I wasn't a party to it. My parents were the plaintiffs in the trial. But during the trial, a lawyer from Progressive argued against my sister, argued that my sister was at fault in the accident that killed her.
Her insurance company was arguing for the person who actually struck her with the car.
Yes.
And again,
and that's a lay person's observation. I sat there in court, and I can tell you all about it. Part of the nightmare of this thing is that because I'm not a lawyer, I'm a step behind at all times. So obviously I'm sure there are legal niceties and reasons for them to be there that I don't understand. But the state of things is that lawyer.
Like, what did the lawyer for Progressive, give me an example as a layperson, what did the lawyer do? Why are you making the conclusion they stood up for the killer?
Well, he gave an opening statement in the trial where he argued that the other killer wasn't negligent. He questioned witnesses, he cross-examined witnesses and raised objections, and then once all the witnesses had been called, he gave a closing statement where he asked the jury to find that my sister was negligent.
And the reason for this is because if your sister is negligent, they don't have to pay you.
Exactly.
How much money? How much money are we? How much money are we talking about here, Matt?
$75,000.
Oh my gosh!
This is all over $75,000. That is amazing. I mean, you would think they were talking about $5 million. They made this big a deal over $75,000.
And not only, I mean, that's outrageous in a way, but it's also mystifying to me. I can't imagine what proportion of that $75,000 they wasted.
Yeah.
Into court.
Well, much more than that.
Okay, so here's what happened. The general once you blogged about this, little did they know that they were dealing with somebody who has some followers, and then also works for a rather large and growing media company. You blog this, and Progressive immediately tweets over and over and over again, "Oh, we feel so bad, and our sympathies are with the Fisher family," and that doesn't go anywhere. And then Chris Wolf, the claims general manager at Progressive, writes and says, "I'd like to take this opportunity to explain Progressive's role in this complex case. First and foremost, our deepest sympathies go to Caitlin Fisher's family. To be very clear, Progressive did not serve as the attorney for the defendant in this case. He was defended by his insurance company, Nationwide. There was a question as who was at fault, and a jury decided in the Fisher family's favor just last week. We respect the verdict and now continue to work with the Fisher family to reach a resolution." However, you provided, the Blaze went out and got court documents, and then you provided additional information. What the Blaze found was a document that reads, on this day, May of 2011, 19th day, Circuit Court for City of Baltimore, says that 1, Progressive Advance Insurance Company can be and hereby is allowed to intervene as party defendant. 2, Progressive Insurance Company is granted all rights to participate in this proceeding as if it were an original party to this case. So why would they file for that petition, and why would they want that judgment if they weren't involved in the defendant's case? If they were at where was the attorney? Was he sitting behind your parents or your sister's side, or were they sitting behind the defendant?
Yeah, he sat next to the defendant through the whole trial.
Oh, not even behind. Sat next to.
Yeah, at the table. And, to be clear, he did have, I think an attorney provided by his own insurance.
Yeah, well,
and I'm sure that there's a legal justification for them to say that, whatever it says in that statement, that they,
of course,
they didn't defend him or whatever.
They're not the lead attorney.
But
that's
they're
what it is.
Essentially co-attorneys, right? They're
They were defending. They were sitting at the defendant's table.
Yeah.
I mean, this is infuriating. First of all, they stab you in the back the entire process. Then, when you come out and tell the truth about them, they try to get themselves off the hook for a technicality. I mean, this is infuriating.
But you notice what they do, and I hate to go down this road, but it is the Progressive Insurance, and it was named after the Progressive movement. What do the Progressives do? They always try to say that you don't understand it. The first line in their defense is, Progressive, hang on just a second, it's right here. We'd like to take the opportunity to explain Progressive's role in this complex case. They're basically saying, you don't understand. It's so complex, you don't understand. Mm-hmm. How dare you? How dare you?
I think anyone would understand the fact that when your own side, your side of the story, is sitting with the other side of the story and making opening and closing arguments for them, that to almost any person on earth would signify a legal defense.
You know another parallel story of this that we've been covering? It just dawned on me. The David Barton story. The people say they're sitting on David Barton's side. No, I'm on David Barton's side. But they're sitting at the other person's table.
At the prosecution table.
They're sitting at the prosecution table. You can't play both.
No.
You can't be prosecutor and defendant.
Now, Matt, has Progressive since offered to settle in full? Or can you legally say?
There have been discussions with them, and not to be evasive, but again, to speak as a non-lawyer, I won't speak out of turn as to what's happening there. But,
don't even answer. Let me ask you this. First of all, let me give you a piece of non-legal advice. Make them pay $75,000. They put your family through this. Make them pay, and more important than money, make them fire the people that were responsible so this doesn't happen to somebody else. You will look at the pain that you went through. It's not about money. It's about making sure this doesn't happen to somebody else's family. It's despicable. This is what gives insurance companies a bad name. And they don't want to have a bad name, and I'm sure they've done a lot of great things in the past. But it's these kinds of decisions that are despicable. Anyway, tell me a little bit about your sister, because how old was she?
She was 24 at the time, and I very much appreciate you asking. It's one of the most perverse things about this is that here I am, talking about insurance when if I had the year of the world, and I do a little bit, I'd be talking about my sister. She was 7 years my junior, and an engineer. She had just gotten her master's in engineering from Johns Hopkins and had begun to do incredible work, and work that mystifies my family. My parents look at my sister and I and wonder, where did those two people come from, a comedian and an engineer? And I had no one closer in my life. I've never heard of any two people as close as my sister and I were, and I've never heard of anyone who has been as good to another as my sister was to me.
How are your folks? How old are they? How old are your parents, Matt?
What's that?
How old are your parents?
My parents are, well, in the name of modesty, I will say they're in their 60s.
How are they holding up?
Well, they're excited. I got to say, during the trial, over lunch or, at the hotel, they said more than once in a pretty dejected way, I wish there was a way we could tell this story. I wish we could let people know that this is what the procedure is. We should start a Twitter. And at the time, we didn't hold out much hope that would happen. And because of you guys, quite frankly, and people around the world have told this story, and Matt, it's gratifying and to my family in a way that we could never explain or thank people enough for.
Here's what I would like to do. I'd like to fly you and your mom and dad down to Dallas, and have them come in and tell the story of your sister, of what happened, and also Progressive, and tell the whole story. If that's at all, I don't want to exploit it, and I don't need your family tragedy for any reason.
Right, whatever's best for you.
Whatever's best for you and your family, but you want to tell the story. Every resource I have is
you being sensitive to the tragedy here, but what we want to do is share our experience, and we're very, very grateful. That would be wonderful.
I'll have Julie or Joel or Tiffany. Somebody will reach out and see if your family can come down next week, and we'll tell the story. God bless.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Matt Fisher, who, by the way, now is not really the time to mention he's going to be on the comedy show with us, but
he's also hilarious. Yeah.
He's hysterical, and I feel so bad that I didn't know that this was going on while he was making jokes. You're trying to convince me that I have the West Nile virus.
No, we're not. We're trying to tell you.
You're on WebMD reading the symptoms and saying that's you. You've got the West Nile virus.
Well, I'm legitimately worried at this point.
We went to the site and went to the West Nile virus page, and it's weird because there's a picture of you on it.
There's not a picture
and
of me.
And it said, if you look like this, you definitely have West Nile virus.
I am so sleepy, and I cannot stay awake.
Oh, West Nile virus.
Oh, geez. Let's see. One of the lead symptoms of West Nile virus, feeling tired.
Give me another one, Stu.
Just throw a couple out there, just random ones off the page, such as reduced attention to surroundings.
Oh, my gosh, you have it.
You have it.
Absolutely have it.
How about this one? Muscle weakness. You're the weakest person I know.
The weakest
I don't
person.
even have, I barely have any muscles at all.
Right, exactly.
But I don't think that was from a mosquito.
Well, we don't know. Disorientation. I would say Glenn very involved in that.
What else? Vomiting? Not vomiting?
How about this one? Coma.
I don't think I've had a coma.
Okay, you don't have a coma.
No.
This one would work against it here. Not feeling hungry. That is definitely not Glenn.
That's not Glenn.
That one's not Glenn. But that's the only one I can find on here that is not
that
you.
and coma.
Well, that's coming.
Coma's coming. Yeah, that's secondary. How about fatigue?
Oh, man.
Well, yeah, that goes with
No,
drowsy.
don't try to deny it.
It's the same thing.
Oh, my gosh. How about this one? Memory loss. Glenn can never remember anything.
That's about a whole life.
And you've had it for a long time, apparently.
I don't think so. This is a West Nile virus, something that's currently happening in Dallas.
Yes, there's a big outbreak of it, and it seems like you probably have it.
I don't think so.
It could lay dormant for 30 years, though.
Well, all right. Okay.
Let me ask you this: Are you vomiting uncontrollably?
No.
Neither are people with West Nile virus.
Done. You've got it.
You've got it.
You have it, my friend.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Can we get back to some serious business here on
Sure, Westy.
I forget what we were talking about now. I'm so tired. It's like I'm in a coma. Ooh, I'm disoriented all of a sudden. We are just going through the list of Southern Poverty Law Center's domestic terrorist and hate groups.
And
radical
right-wing ones.
Yeah, radical right-wing hate groups, and the Black Panther Party is on that.
Yeah, Malik Zulu Shabazz is listed, and you remember this every time that you hear the report from like CNN when they're like, "Oh, well, the Southern Poverty Law Center has said there's a huge increase in right-wing hate groups." Well, they're including the new Black Panther Party in that,
which is so funny because every book on the Black Panther parties from the 1960s all the way to today, they're called the New Left. It's the New Left, the New Left, the new radical left, and now suddenly the Southern Law Poverty Center, to be able to say how much the right-wing hate groups have expanded, they're expanding because they're putting people in those categories that don't belong there. Let me give you two examples. In this category is the Black Panther, extreme right-wing hate groups, the new Black Panther Party, and David Barton.
Same list. The guy who talks about the founding fathers and stuff.
Yeah, one guy's saying kill all cracker babies, or his group is, and the other guy talks about Thomas Jefferson and George Washington.
Same exact thing. Same list.
Do they have an explanation of how David Barton got on that list?
Yes, they do, actually. It's handy dandy. You can click right on it.
Am I on the list?
You are not, although you were mentioned in David Barton's, which is a little disappointing, honestly.
Also, by the way, Cliff Kincaid is on this list, and he's a dangerous man. Dangerous man. Anyway.
He was named in 2005 as one of the nation's 25 most influential evangelicals, which right there
no wonder
is
he's
hatred.
A trained killer.
Yeah, trained killer. He is a self-styled historian who has acted as a key bridge between mainstream political right and radical right religious ideology. If there's nothing about David Barton, I mean, you can definitely admit that he's radical. The man...
And dangerous.
Oh,
he just exudes danger. Him in his red, white, and blue flag shirt. You don't see him coming a mile away.
Yeah. Well,
he just soon kill you. Look at you too.
Oh my!
You know, you just
so
see
dangerous.
it. You just see that glint in his eye.
Yeah,
he's just on the verge of killing you at any moment.
David is the farthest thing from any kind of extremist I've ever met. I mean, he is.
I don't know. I mean, if I take the names out of it for a second. Which one said? Which one? I'll just give you a little example.
See if I can tell the difference between, let's say, the Black Panthers and David Barton.
This is because it's going to be tough.
Okay.
One has a religious education from Oral Roberts University.
Okay.
Which one is it?
Malik Shabazz?
No.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay. I mean, it's funny because I thought you might have a problem with that one, but let me give you another one. I'm going to mix it up.
Okay.
Just put switch the names around in a hat, and we'll come up with this one. Let's see. Who controls the media in Hollywood? Jews.
Oh, I
now,
bet
which one is that?
David Barton.
No, it's
Really?
Malik Zulu Shabazz.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. I'm surprised.
Who would ever... How about
do
this
another one?
Okay.
Kill every GD Zionist in Israel.
Oh, that's easy.
GD little babies, GD old ladies, blow up Zionist supermarkets.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay, now think about it.
Come on.
It's a trick
Take
because
some time.
it was David Barton the
seems
first
so
time.
obvious.
Seems so obvious
that it's
but,
David Barton, but
yeah, I would say it's Malik just because you're trying to throw us off.
I'm going to stay with David
Barton, really?
Yeah, you're not going to believe this, Malik Zulu
See,
Shabazz.
I knew he was trying to trick us.
Again.
How about this? Barton's historic... Oh, crap, I gave that one away. Jeez, I blew that one. Okay, here we go.
All right.
Now, think about... We're talking about radical right-wing hate groups here.
Yes, okay.
Is it David Barton or Malik Zulu
Okay,
Shabazz?
this is according to the Southern Poverty Law Center.
He is a former co-chairman of the Texas Republican Party.
I'm pretty sure Malik is from Texas.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You're right.
He's got a lot of Texan values.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you, Malik.
Malik
No,
Zulu
David
Shabazz.
Barton. Oh, my gosh.
I can't figure out
You're
Stu's
not
pattern.
doing well on this.
I am really screwing with you. Okay, how about this one?
All right.
If 3,000 people perished in the World Trade Center attacks and the Jewish population is 10%, you show me records of 300 Jewish people dying in the World Trade Center. We're daring anyone to dispute this truth. They got their people out.
I was just talking to David Barton about that the other day.
It's Malik Zulu Shabazz. Wow.
Dang it.
Oh, man.
Well, I have that right-wing extremist David Barton on tonight for a full hour
Oh,
on
my
GBTV.
gosh. You are a hate group then.
Wow.
Oh, of course I am.
Yeah.
I know. I'm going to get a call from Cliff Kincaid, too, in his basement trying to plan the latest Cliff Kincaid hate, bombing.
He's trying to exterminate an entire group of people.
Yeah.
He doesn't even care who it is.
Yeah.
He doesn't even care which one. He just wants to kill people.
Or expose untruths. One of the two.
One of the two.
I can't remember what
forget.
it is. Yeah.
Here's one that you'll never get. Okay, now think you should be able to get this one. Think about it, Glenn. Former Fox News conspiracy monger Glenn Beck uses this person to teach history at Beck's University.
Of course, that's going to be
Shabazz.
Shabazz.
Yes, you're right. It is Shabazz. That one you got right. Yeah, it is.
Good job.
By the way, that's coming up soon.
This is such a credible site when they say Glenn Beck conspiracy theorist uses this guy. Yeah, that's me. That's me in a nutshell. By the way, what Stu said there is so important. Most people don't even pay attention to what the Southern Poverty Law Center is. And they hear that, and they're the expert. They're the ones who are the expert on all the extremism here in
They're
America.
cited all the time.
All the time. Southern Poverty Law Center, Southern Poverty Law Center, Southern Poverty Law Center. And you'll always hear it. And Southern Poverty Law Center says that this extremism is on the rise. That's what this source is. They're the ones deeming David Barton. They're the ones, Cliff Kincaid, and they're the ones making Malik Shabazz
right wing,
a right-wing guy.
Mm-hmm. Seriously, Glenn, and I asked this as a friend and a person who knows your family. Do you have security set up for David Barton coming into the studio tonight? Because this man is a radical right-wing extremist.
We're going to check him. We're going to dust him and put him in a one of those bomb sniffer things.
Oh yeah,
because he might have been around plastiques.
Maybe
it'd be 80% plastique. We don't know.
You also need to station snipers around the studio just to be sure he doesn't make a sudden move toward you.
You know what? I think there might be some snipers stationed around the studio aiming at David Barton. David Barton is coming under
fire like crazy.
Under fire like crazy. I would ask that you would pray for him and pray for me on wisdom on this whole David Barton situation. Friendly fire and shameful friendly fire, and more than shameful, really disappointing. Some of the people involved, I think, have a pure heart and are trying to do the right thing. Others do not, and David Barton is one of the most pure-hearted guys I've ever met. One of the least offensive guys I've ever met, one of the most honest men I've ever met, one of the only non-self-promoting men I've ever met in this particular circle, and he's coming under massive fire. He's had his book contract canceled. I hope to be announcing here soon that David Barton will be a partner in Mercury Inc. But tonight, I'm going to let him answer his critics who say he's lying and making stuff up. David Barton is usually one that can defend himself pretty well. So tonight, 5 o'clock, GBTV Full Hour with David Barton, a show that if you're a David Barton fan, I ask you to watch, and a show that you don't want to miss.
Will he say his quote about how all the world's problems are caused by the very nature of white people?
You know he will, because he can't.
You're right. I looked at the wrong thing. You're right.
Yeah, you got the wrong one.
It was so difficult to tell the difference.
I will not have it. No. I won't have this talk of Hillary Clinton joining the ticket. It is, I guarantee you, not going to happen.
No, I see.
Is that definitive enough? It is not going to happen.
You haven't looked at the evidence.
All right, give me the evidence.
10:15 meeting, president, vice president.
Okay, so Obama and Biden get together. Mm-hmm. All right.
10:45 meeting.
Yeah.
President, vice president.
1/2 hour later, the president and the vice president
and Hillary Clinton
meet with Hillary. Mm-hmm. Okay.
An hour after that, president, vice president have lunch.
And
end of case.
Means...
Case closed is what they say after that.
As much as I want to believe that.
So the first meeting then supposedly is for
Obama will deliver the bad news.
To deliver the bad news to Biden.
And then
they bring Hillary in and say, hey,
this is how it's going to happen.
Hey, I just cut him loose, and I'd like you to join the ticket.
Right. And then the lunch
it's
afterwards.
It's a breakup lunch afterwards.
It's a breakup lunch. Look, we had a good run.
Thank you for all your help.
You've done a great job, and it has nothing to do with the fact that every day there's 9 stories of your gaffes.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with that. It's just for the American people, we need to re-energize this campaign. This Paul Ryan thing's really working for them, and we need to put more energy
despite the fact that the polls say otherwise so far.
I would say they have not.
He hasn't exactly lit it on fire poll wise yet, but it could happen. No, I hope it does. Obviously,
you got a bump in some polls and not so much in others.
I will say this: Barack Obama is too much of an arrogant butthhook to allow Hillary to become part of the ticket, because he would never admit, I'll say it again, he would never admit that he needs her to win. Never. He's the savior. He's the one. He beat the Clinton machine. He's not going to now go crawling back to the Clinton machine and say, I need you now. Could you please join my ticket? That will not happen.
On the same point, though, if he legitimately believes he's in trouble and he legitimately believes this will solve that trouble, he also is desperately in need for power.
He might pick somebody else, but he would never pick Hillary. That's my belief.
Yeah. And by the way,
I'll eat my underwear if that turns out not to be the case.
Do we have that? We have that on tape?
Yeah, I hope.